This 50mm f1.2 costs only $98, but is it actually any good? Alright, what's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elias, I'm a photographer located in Athens, Greece, and in this video we're going to take a look at this lens over here, the TT Artisan 50mm f1.2, and talk about the biggest selling point of this lens over here. Basically, we have an f1.2 aperture lens which costs only $98, under $100, and you can also find it on sale here and there, so you can actually get it for less than $90, which is crazy to think that you can get an f1.2 lens that cheap. Also, what I want to address right away is that TT Artisan didn't sponsor this video, so I'm going to say exactly what I think about this lens. They were kind enough to send it out for me for some tests, but yeah, I'm not sponsored, so I'm going to say my opinion the way that I want to say my opinion. So first things first, we have to address the elephant in the room, and basically we need to get out of the way that this lens is a fully manual lens. This means that it doesn't have any autofocus, and this also means that you have to change the aperture manually from the lens over here. So this basically means that you have to approach your photography slowly and more methodically. Also, one really important side note, this lens is only for crop sensor cameras, but you can always use it on a full frame on crop mode. Alright, first things first, let's address the build quality of this lens. It's metallic actually. It has a little bit of weight on it. It doesn't feel plasticky at all. It feels well made, to be honest. The aperture ring has some nice clicks on it. Can you hear that? Oh, nice. I love aperture rings with clicks. This is really useful for photography, also useful for video because it actually captures the sound of the aperture ring. So about the focus ring, which is really important on a fully manual lens, it is really smooth, to be honest. I didn't find anything negative about this focus ring while I was using it for portraits or for street photography and stuff like that. The only thing that really bothers me, and I see these kind of things on many lenses, is that when you get to infinity, when you focus to infinity and you get your marker right on the infinity marker over here, it doesn't really focus to infinity. You have to tweak it a little bit, but yeah, that's what I found out, and that's something that I notice on many lenses. On the back of the lens we get a fully please open. Yeah, we get a fully metallic how are these things called? Gaskets? I don't know. Anyways, on the back over here the lens is metallic. It is not plastic. Most of the cheap lenses from other companies, they have a plastic back over here. This one has a metallic one. What I don't like about this lens is the design of the lens cap over here and from the lens hood as well. It's actually metallic, so that's nice. And in order to use this lens cap over here, you always have to have your lens hood on top of your lens, because you actually need to do this over here, and it, as you can see, it somehow falls off. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm not a huge fan of this lens cap technology over here, to be honest. I don't know why this is built that way. Okay, I finally got it on, but yeah, that is something that is bothering me. You can see that if I take off the lens hood over here, the cap is not the same size. See? Yeah, I don't know why that it is built that way, but yeah, that's something not so concerning, but it's definitely not a positive. So let's say you lose the lens hood and you want to close the front element over here and protect it. The lens comes with this cap over here as well, which is actually screw on, and this one obviously cannot fall down because it's screwed on the top of the lens. But if you want to start shooting right away, you have to unscrew it, which is not the case with traditional lens caps. So since we covered the build quality part of the video, let's talk about the most important part, which is the image quality. So is this lens actually usable even at f1.2? Because obviously we're buying this lens in order to shoot at f 1.2. That is the main selling point of this lens, and that is the most important part of the video. And what I have noticed is that even at f1.2, the lens is decently sharp. Obviously it's not razor sharp, it's not like you're using a Sigma Art or something like that, but for $98 at f1.2, especially on the middle of the image, you get some really nice sharpness, you get some really nice clarity. But obviously the most important part in order to have a sharp image with this lens is to actually nail the focus. So in order to test this lens at f1.2, I took a few portraits over here and I did a few street photography sessions left and right. And if we are zooming right into the eye of this portrait over here, you can see that we get a lot of sharpness actually, which is mind-blowing. So at least in my opinion, the sharpness that comes out of this lens is way better than some older lenses, and it's really acceptable, especially if you're just posting on social media, like most of us do nowadays. So in conclusion, I think this lens at f1.2 displays a pretty acceptable image, to be honest. I thought that it would be a complete disaster. In terms of chromatic aberration, you can definitely see some of it at f1.2. For $98, I think that the chromatic aberration is something to be expected, and most of the time you can correct it in post anyways. I think this lens shines really during nighttime because obviously that f1.2 aperture lets in a lot of light, and we can lower our ISO or even increase our shutter speed in order to get steadier shots. And also, if you have the patience in order to do some portrait photography and nail the focus right on the eye, you can get some really amazing portraits with beautifully out of focus backgrounds. And again, I think that for social media, the image that this lens produces is more than enough. Enjoy a small slideshow from my favorite images that I got with this lens, and we will continue the video afterwards. So one really important thing that we need to discuss about this lens is obviously the bokeh. Does actually the f1.2 aperture make a huge difference from an f1.8 lens or from an f2.8 lens? Well, in my opinion, it does. Even while we're shooting close-up images where the bokeh is really strong, you can see that there is a difference on the autofocus background. So if you're going to shoot larger subjects, let's say you're shooting a model, then at f1.2 versus 1.8 or versus 2.8, you're going to see a huge difference on the background. But I think we all can agree that this lens produces creamy bokeh, and to be honest, this is one of the biggest selling points of this lens. The last small trick which I used in order to get more creative with this lens is that you can obviously use a few filters in front of this lens as well. Personally, I used a black mist filter in front of this lens, and the results that I got paired with a 1.2 aperture, they were really dreamy, and especially during nighttime, oh my god, this combo is really beautiful. So in conclusion, who is this lens for? The first thought that I have is it is for beginners that don't have a huge budget to spend at an f1.2 aperture lens, so they make a compromise on the autofocus, they slow down the photography, and they get to try out an f1.2 lens. And the next category of shooters that this lens is made for, I think, in my opinion, is the professional or the hobbyist that wants to take a slower approach to their photography. So in case you are searching for that feeling, that slower approach, that film-like approach, then this fully manual lens is definitely a really budget option for you, and I think for the price you won't be disappointed at all. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I think I covered almost everything that this lens has to offer. If you have any more questions, leave them down below and I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. If you want to grab this lens, I will have some links down below on the description. So yeah, go check it out if you are interested in that. And lastly, let me say a huge thank you to each and every single one of you that choose to spend some of your time by watching my videos. This really means the world to me. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end the video. See you next time. Take care. Peace.